Hello everyone, welcome to our special program today. I am super excited. Guess where I am? This might look like a museum, this might look like an aquarium, but I'm actually at the Three Gorges Rare Fish Conservation Center. The main goal of the center is to protect and conserve the rare fish species in the Yangtze River, especially those on the verge of extinction. It also aims to ensure their survival to maintain the biodiversity in the Yangtze River ecosystem. So what special fish do they have here, and what does conservation look like? I'm now joined by Dr. Yang, a researcher at the center. Dr. Yang, fantastic to have you on our special program today. Really good to have you joining us. Why don't we start with this fish right here? We know this species is from the upper reaches of the Yangtze River. Dr. Yang, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, it's a typical fish living in the upstream of the Yangtze River, and it has adapted to the local environment, such as low temperature. So the growth speed for this fish is quite slow, but they are very good at evading behind stones. And in this way, they cannot easily be swept away by turbulent water flows.
Understood. Dr. Yang was telling me that this species is quite coy and quite shy, and it turns out it's a basic survival skill, a survivor instinct of this fish right here. And now we move on to this fish. It's very special because the color of their body can change as they reach maturity. The Chinese name is Yangtze, which roughly translates into rouge fish. Dr. Yang, how did it get its name?
Yeah, it's rouge fish. Actually, it has another English name. It's a Chinese sucker. And as you mentioned just now, it's very interesting because the physical appearance of this fish can change with age. And what we can see now here is the juvenile forum. And there are 3 vertical lines around its body. But when it grows up, these vertical lines will disappear, and a horizontal line will show up on each side of its body surface. And when it's ready for propagate, the color of its whole body will turn to rouge. So that's why we call them rouge fish.
Isn't that magical? The patterns, the stripes on the bodies of this fish will change. Dr. Yang, now that we've gotten to know 2 species of the rare fish here at the center, can you help us understand what conservation looks like at this stage? We know water is important. This water is actually from the Yangtze River, filtered to fill the tanks. The temperature of the water is also important. What else, Dr. Yang?
Yes, all the temperatures in these tanks are regulated because we are trying our best to provide a proper environment as close to their natural environment as possible. And we want to make sure they can successfully grow and propagate under artificial conditions.
Now we're approaching a larger tank now that houses some familiar carp fish. These are known as the 4 major domestic fish here in China, or 4 economic fish, we call them. Dr. Yang, they're not as rare, they're not as precious, they're actually quite common. Why are you having them here at the center? What is the purpose for studying them?
Actually, due to the global environmental change, fish-wide resources, most fish-wide resources had declined, including economic fish. So in addition to the conservation of rare fish species, we also pay attention to the protection of economic fish species. And we started ecological regulation for the 4 major Chinese carps since 2011. And this regulation is quite effective in boosting the propagation for these carps. And according to our data, the number of their eggs in the Yangtze River in recent years is about 100 times higher than it before 2011.
That's incredible, real results. Obviously, the center houses many more rare species. Next, we're going to show you the star at the center, a living fossil that has existed for over 140 million years. People call them the giant panda in the water, whose condition has improved dramatically thanks to conservation efforts, including artificial breeding here at the center. And that is the Chinese sturgeon. Coming up, you're going to see a specimen of this beautiful creature right here. This is a specimen of the Chinese sturgeon. You can get a sense of just how big this species is. You know what? If you stick around, we're going to show you living individuals of the Chinese sturgeon right here at the center. So don't go anywhere. But before that, now that we're on the topic of ecological protection, my colleague Hu Chao has made her way to the Shennongjia National Nature Reserve, also here in Hubei province. Why don't we take a look at her report, and then we're going to show you Chinese sturgeons. Take a look.
Dr. Zaman came to study in China from Pakistan. He's been doing research in the forest of Shennongjia National Nature Reserve for about 9 months. He studies the urine of the golden snub-nosed monkeys, an endangered species under the first-level national protection in China.
I love monkeys and want to protect them. For me, it's not just words, but action. I've been working hard to collect and study their urine samples to check their health conditions. It contributes to the thesis I'm writing, which is helpful for protection of the species.
The golden snub-nosed monkey is a signature species of the Shennongjia Nature Reserve. It was once threatened by a shrinking and fragmented habitat. Dr. Zaman said he's impressed by Chinese experts' dedication to protecting nature.
China's done great in protecting its wildlife. I've seen people working hard to protect the reserve, so I believe the species of golden snub-nosed monkeys will thrive.
Chinese experts have been observing and researching the golden snub-nosed monkeys for decades. Living and working in the woods is never easy. Well, thanks to their efforts and love for the species, the number of the monkeys has risen to 1,600, triple of what it was in 1990. Habitat of the golden snub-nosed monkeys has now been expanded almost 2 times compared to 20 years ago. Experts say Shennongjia holds significant ecological value due to its rich biodiversity. Its varied ecosystems promote genetic diversity and resilience to climate change. Local officials have employed multiple measures to conserve the reserve's unique environment.
Aiming to ensure the integrity and authenticity of the reserve's natural ecosystems, we've implemented zoning management, enacted protection regulations, and launched innovative initiatives. We've also boosted cooperation and exchanges at home and abroad, including partnerships with the United Nations Environment Program and over 40 domestic universities.
Statistics show the restored areas in Shennongjia have reached up to more than 20 million square meters, and its forest coverage rate has risen to 96%. Hu Chao, CGTN, Hubei province.
Welcome back, everyone. Now I've caught up with my colleague Feng Yilei here. We're in this sprawling breeding workshop. And Yilei, I did promise our viewers that they would be seeing living Chinese sturgeon here in the workshop.
Well, keeping to your word, here we are face to face with the real live Chinese sturgeons. Well, just look at those majestic creatures. It is just incredible to think how these living fossils first emerged about 140 million years ago are right here with us. But these aren't wild Chinese sturgeons, are they?
They are the results of artificial breeding here at the center, which has been a success story, really. And we're seeing some activity here in the pond.
So, Dr. Yang, could you please explain to us briefly what these experts are doing right there?
Yeah, my colleagues are doing routine examination of the Chinese sturgeon. They are measuring the fish body length and checking whether they are healthy.
So this routine checkup, a medical checkup sort of for humans, is only an element of a very lengthy process protecting and conserving the Chinese sturgeons. Can you help us understand other crucial tasks involved in this process?
Yes, the routine examination is only a small part in our work, and the ultimate goal for us is to recover the wild resources for the Chinese sturgeon. So there are 2 main tasks for us. The first one is artificial breeding. we cultivate a sustainable population under artificial conditions, and it's also the basis for the recovery of wild resources. The second one is releasing. We release the Chinese sturgeon into the natural environment every year, and in the past 3 years, the annual releasing number for the Chinese sturgeon is more than 200,000, and up to now, the total releasing number is up to more than 6 million individuals.
Well, that is a lot. And speaking of releasing, I'm really curious, once they are released and returned to Yangtze River and even the ocean, how would you then monitor them in a natural environment?
Actually, we usually use different tags to mark the released individuals, and including PIP tag.
Oh.
As we can see over there.
I think you're doing it right now.
Yeah.
So these are relatively young sturgeons here in the pond, about 3 years old. And it looks like they already have those markings. They already have these tags with them. So as part of the medical checkup, they can scan the tag and a number will come up. That number has all the information about this particular individual.
Yeah, so we can check the individual information through the number of the fish. Yeah. And besides the PIP tag, we also use sonar and the satellite tag to help us to tracking the swim route for the released individuals.
And I assume that when you talk about the information it carries, it also include their age. So for these sturgeons, they are about 3 years?
Yeah.
And that pretty much makes them still babies of Chinese sturgeons, I think. But when they reach maturity, as you said, breeding is also going to be a critical issue, maybe not just for these individuals, but for the survival of the entire species, right? So could you please maybe share with us some of the major breakthroughs the team has made so far in breeding technologies?
Yeah, the life pattern for the Chinese sturgeon is quite long, so the protective process is quite hard. But I would like to share 2 events with you guys. The first event was in 1984, why the Chinese sturgeon was successfully propagated in our institute with our help. And from that time, we started to release individuals into the Yangtze River. Another event is in 2009, and in that year, the first fish fry of the second failure generation of Chinese sturgeon in China was the first born in our institute. And this means that the conservation of Chinese sturgeon are no longer depend on wild resources.
Dr. Yang, I want to say a quick congratulations on those remarkable achievements made possible through you and your colleagues' hard work. But what about the future? What is the longer-term goal in your work here at the center? What would be an ideal outcome?
Well, I think we will continue to the conservation of more endangered fish species, and there might many key steps in the future, but I think they may include, but not limited to, 3 aspects. The first one is performing scientific research using advanced technologies and biological methods, and it will help us to improve the quality and quantity of our artificial population. The second aspect is keeping releasing, and it will effectively improve the wild resources. And the third aspect is to conducting public benefit activities. We want to, and we would like to introduce these fish species to the public, and we hope the public can understand and can recognize the importance of this beautiful and precious species living on the earth. And with all our efforts, we want to build a beautiful world, homeland for all to live in harmony.
Beautiful work, incredible work. Best wishes to you, Dr. Yang, and to your colleagues.
And I think it's just encouraging to see all the efforts that the team has made to safeguard not just this one species, but the rich biodiversity of the Yangtze River ecosystem.
It's an honor and a privilege for us reporters to witness such personal and professional dedication right here at the center and to bring to you the tangible results of China's ecological protection.
And perhaps that's also enough to just inspire each of us to keep in mind that human progress and natural conservation can go hand in hand, and then consider what we can do to protect the treasures of our Mother Nature.
Remember, that's a crucial element of the Chinese path for modernization, the harmonious coexistence between man and nature.